Hello all. So today we are going to start our new playlist which carries 10 marks as per existing IBBI syllabus, and with effect from 1st July 2022 it will carry 9 marks of theory. So name of the today's chapter or new playlist which we are going to start is Law Journal. So in today's session we will cover Indian legal system, introduction to Indian legal system and government. Into Indian legal system, we will try to cover salient features of Indian Constitution, fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, and government, executive, legislature, and judiciary. So we'll try to cover these topics from IBBI examination valuation perspective only, because these chapters are very lengthy. Whatever things are relevant from examination perspective, we will cover only, we will focus only on those points. This is the full syllabus as per IBBI exam and is being given just for the sake of reference. So in today's session, we are going to cover Indian legal system and government, division of power between executive, legislature and judiciary. In upcoming sessions, we will cover of the playlist, we will cover law of contract, tort, law of arbitration and conciliation and their salient features, auctions, law of evidence, salient features of insolvency and bankruptcy code, Companies Act and Companies Valuers Rule 2017, then SURFACI Act and Banking Regulation Act. So this is the preamble of Indian Constitution and is very important from examination purpose. 1 mark theory question normally come out of this slide only. So these 4-5 lines is the preamble, and then we will discuss the 5 keywords which are mentioned in the preamble. So preamble is: we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Please remember these 5 key words and their meanings we'll discuss subsequently. And to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individuals and the unity and integrity of the nation. So this is the preamble, and following is the meaning of 5 keywords which are mentioned in the preamble. First keyword is sovereign. It means that India has its own independent authority. That is, in India, legislature has the power to make laws which is subject to certain limitations. Then the second keyword meaning is socialist is: it was added by its 42nd amendment in 1976. Please remember this word also. The socialist and secular, these 2 words were added in 1976 in the constitution by way of 42nd amendment. So socialist is, it is democratic socialism, which means a mixed economy where both and private sectors coexist side by side. So the meaning of socialist is mixed economy, private and social sector coexisting parallelly. And third keyword is secular. This was also added in 1976 by way of 46th amendment in Indian Constitution. It means that all religion of India gets equal respect. It is secular. Protection and support from the state. Democratic. It implies that Constitution of India has an established form of constitution which get its authority from the will of the people expressed in an election. So people elect their government. It is a state or the country is being run by people by way of election. Republic. It means that the head of the state is elected by the people directly or indirectly. So directly we give vote and select our member of parliament or state assembly. In India, the president of India, president by the people, is selected by people directly or indirectly. In India, the president is the head of the country and is elected indirectly by the people. Please remember. So these are the 6 fundamental rights which Indian Constitution provide to all citizens of India. The first 6 rights. Please remember these 6 rights: right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, right to education and culture, right to constitutional remedies. Let us see all these rights one by one in next slides. First right is right to equality. It talks about equality before law, equal public employment opportunities, and abolition of untouchability. The second fundamental right is right to freedom. It gives freedom of speech and expression, freedom of assembly without arms. Please remember without arms word here. Freedom of association, freedom of movement throughout the territory of the country, freedom to reside and settle in any part of India, and freedom to practice any profession. Right against exploitation. It prevents exploitation of the weaker section of the society by individual or the state. Example, prohibition of forced labor and child labor. Right to freedom of religion. It provides religious freedom to all citizens and ensures a secular state of India. So fifth right, fundamental right is right to education and culture. It prohibits discrimination against any citizen for admission into any educational institute maintained or aided by state on the grounds of religion, race, caste, language, or any of them. This is subject to reservation of a reasonable number of seats for socially and educationally backward classes. And sixth and last right, fundamental right, is right to constitutional remedies. This right guarantees the enforcement of above 5 other fundamental rights, previous 5 fundamental rights, and Supreme Court is the designated protector of these rights by the Constitution. Following are the main writs. Writs means court orders can be issued by Supreme Court for enforcement of fundamental rights. Please remember these keywords and their meanings. Habeas corpus, you should have the body, that is personal law. Mandamus, to command, it means command, abstain from illegal act. Prohibition, to forbid or to stop, that is called stay order. Certiorari, to inform. Jurisdiction, natural justice or error of law. Quo warranto, by what warrant? Public office. So these are the few keywords which you please remember from examination purpose. Otherwise it is a very lengthy topic and may take a lot of time. This much stuff is adequate from exam perspective. Then next important topic is fundamental duties. So these are the moral obligations of all citizens to help and promote a spirit of patriotism and to uphold the unity of India. So like citizens have fundamental rights, they do have some duties which are called fundamental duties, and this is the meaning of fundamental duties. Next is directive principles of state policy. So other than fundamental right, there are some other guiding principles for state while making their laws and principles. So what are these? Directive principle of state policy aim to create social and economic conditions under which the citizens can lead to a good life. The principles can be subdivided as under. So all these directive principles can be subdivided into 3 major categories. The first group of principles fall under socialist principles. Then second is Gandhian principle, and third one is liberal principles. Let us see one by one each of them. So first category of socialist principle include equal distribution of wealth among all classes of people. So that is the aim of the state while making their policy. Equal pay for equal work to men and women, right to work, education and public assistance, provision of adequate livelihood to all citizens, human conditions for work and maternity relief, living wages and decent standard of life, participation of workers in management of industries, nutrition and public health. Second category of state policy directives falls under Gandhian principles. in second category. So it talks about state shall promote education and economic interest of weaker sections, that is SC ST, prevent consumption of liquor and other intoxicating drinks, organize village panchayats to encourage cottage industries and to provide employment to rural areas, to improve agriculture and animal husbandry, free and compulsory education for all children below 14 years. So this is the Gandhian principle for second category. Third and last category is liberal principles. It talks about uniform civil code, free and compulsory education to all children up to 14 years, organize animal husbandry on modern and scientific basis, prohibit slaughter of cows, please remember, protect and improve environment, improve and safeguard forest and wildlife of the country, protect monuments, places, objectives and objects of national importance, separation of judiciary from executive. This is also aim which fall under liberal principles category. Promote international peace and security, maintain good relation with different states, respect international treaties, settle disputes by arbitration. So this is the table which defines a basic difference between fundamental rights and directive principles. Please note down these 7 points, which were 7 or 8 point differences. 1 mark theory question may sometime come out of this also. So this is a very beautiful table. You will not get this table anywhere in the book. So action by state. So in case of fundamental rights, these are negative as they prohibit the state from doing certain things. So basically fundamental rights prohibit state or government from doing something and they have a negative action basically. However, directive principles are positive as they require state to do something. So fundamental right ask state or government to not to do something. Directive principle asks the state to do something. That is a basic first difference between fundamental rights and directive principles. Second is enforceability. These fundamental rights are legally enforceable by court in case of violation. Thus these are justifiable. However, directive principles are not enforceable by court for their violation. So these are basic guiding principles. There is no mandatory obligation on state to implement these directive principles. So there is no one can go in court, move the court in case state doesn't provide them. Then third parameter is democracy. They aim at establishing political democracy in the country. So fundamental rights basically aims at establishing political democracy in the country. However, directive principles aims at establishing social and economic democracy. So please note down this word, this parameter is also important. So fundamental right focuses on establishing political democracy and directive principle aims at establishing social and economic democracy in the country. Then sanctions, they have legal sanctions. They have fundamental rights have legal sanctions. However, directive principles have legal and political sanctions. In terms of coverage, fundamental rights promote welfare of individual. Thus, they are personal and individual. However, directive principles promote welfare of the community. So, thus they are socialitarian and socialistic. And then implementation, fundamental rights do not require any legislation for their implementation. They are automatically enforced. However, directive principles require legislation for their implementation, so they are not automatically enforced. So government need to implement these principles as per their wishes. Violation, courts are bound to declare violation of any fundamental right as unconstitutional and invalid. However, in case of directive principles, the court cannot declare a law violation of any of the directive principle as unconstitutional and invalid. However, court can uphold the validity of a law on the ground that it was enacted to give effect to a directive. So this is next topic of division of power of government. So power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The modern democracy is generally based on the concept of the doctrine of separation of power. Please note down this 4-5 keywords. Doctrine of separation of power. Thus the theory suggests formation of 3 separate authorities for 3 separate functions. So this doctrine of separation of power suggests formation of three following separate authorities for 3 separate functions. The first authority is legislature. The aim is to legislate, and it is nothing but a law and policy making body, for example parliament and state legislature in India. Then second set of authority is the executive, and the aim of this authority is to execute and implement. So executive is responsible for effective implementation of the laws and policies which are being made by legislature. So here in India, for example, president, vice president, ministers, governors, along with council of ministers, bureaucrats, civil servants or executives. And third set of authority is judiciary, to adjudicate. The aim is to adjudicate. So this is to safeguard interest and fundamental rights of the people. So all courts in India are under part of judiciary. So that's all about today's session. Thank you very much for watching the video. Before I'm going to tell you what we are going to have a power pack next session, I would request you to please subscribe to the channel and click on bell icon if you are new to the channel. So in upcoming sessions we are going to have we'll try to cover these laws of contract. This is a little bit lengthy. We'll try to cover it in 1 or 2 sessions. Then we will, in subsequent session, we will cover tort, law of arbitration, auction, law of evidence and other topics in subsequent sessions. Thank you.